Are y'all ready for part 3 kayak fishing video production tips? Okay, that's good because here we go. Today I'm going to cover my GoPro settings and I'm going to go in and show you how I edit GoPro footage. Now anybody that watches my videos and that knows me, they know I'm a simple guy. I mean, not simple like this. No, not that kind of simple. I mean, I like to keep everything as simple as possible, and that includes GoPro footage and how to edit it. So, I gotta go inside, so let's go inside, get on the computer for that. All right, let me state this at the very beginning. I work exclusively on a Mac. My video editing program is Final Cut Pro 10. Everything that I'm going to show you here today, what I do, it can work on the video editing platform of your choice. So everything here is transferable to whatever program that you use. So don't get intimidated and think, well, he's, you know, I don't know his software program. That's okay. Just take the ideas that I have here, transfer them, and apply them to your own video editing program. I'm in the app now on my iPhone for the settings that I use. Let's quickly go through these. Resolution, I usually leave that at 1080 frames per second, 60. Field of view wide, low light auto. I don't mess with a spot meter. Now I always leave the Pro Tune, I slide that to on. That's going to give you better quality videos, so check your settings, make sure that's on. White balance, I leave that in auto. Color, I put that in flat. Now let's look at that. Let's tap that. You have two choices here, the GoPro color or flat. Now if you choose GoPro color, the camera itself is going to do a lot of color saturation. You may or may not like that, but you lose control. I want total control over how my video looks, so I shoot in flat, and I'm going to show you here very soon how I edit that flat to bring out the color. So let's go back. ISO 1600 doesn't matter there. I'm not shooting in low light conditions usually. Sharpness, I leave that on. EV comp, right where it's at is fine. So there you go. There are my settings that I use virtually every time I set it once and forget it basically. All right, we're getting ready to get into the meat of this editing. Like I said before, everything that I'm going to do here with Final Cut Pro, if you don't use Final Cut, the things that I'm going to show you here, you can do the exact same thing in your video editing program. You may have to search a little bit to find the settings, but once you find it, you're going to see some amazing results. So what I've done here is I've just grabbed a couple of clips. I was out one afternoon with my wife kayaking and shooting with a GoPro, so I've dropped 2 clips into the timeline. Now these are what the clips look like. Just me paddling along the shore. Now the reason I chose these clips is because there is a lot of things, well there's a lot of room for improvement, and I've got blue skies, I've got green grass, I've got the water, there's some good color there. Over here I've got the yellow, the green, the blue. So what I'm getting ready to tell you, if you will do these 2 things, I can promise you that you will go from average looking video footage to pretty amazing looking video footage. It's going to change the way you edit your footage, I promise you. So let's look at what I do. Let's take the first clip. Now I like to use video scopes, but you don't have to use video scopes. You can use your eyeballs, okay? Just go by what looks good on your eyes. In Final Cut, they give me some scopes and allow me to make tweaks, and I can use a graph. So right here, I'm in the Luma vector scope, and it's Luma, it's the light. I'm going to pull up what Final Cut calls the color board. So on the color board, I can I can affect the color, the saturation, and the exposure. The first thing I do on every clip that I edit, every single one, is I go to the exposure and I do what is called crushing the blacks. I want the blacks to show up on this video. And if you crush the blacks, if you darken the blacks, if you make the black black, you're going to start seeing some amazing footage. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my scope right here, and I'm going to pull my blacks down to the 0. Okay, so if you'll watch the scope and watch this line, see the movement? I'm dragging the exposure down. I'm taking the shadow portion and just pulling it down till it touches the 0. Look what it's done to the video. Look what it's done to the color with that simple move. Okay, and now what I might do is I might grab the midtones, which is this middle hockey puck. I'm going to pull it down. I may take it down to 10%. So you can see the percentage right there, and I'm going to leave it right there. Let's take a look at what this simple editing has done. I'm going to hide the video scopes. I'm going to go back to full screen. So here's the before. There's the after. Before, after. Pretty amazing change, isn't it? Let's go over to this other clip. Let's do the same exact thing. Up here at top where it says view, I'm going to hit show video scopes. My scopes are going to appear again. Now remember, keep your settings between 0 and 100. Up here high, this represents the bright light at the 100. Down here at the 0, it represents the darker colors, the blacks, the shadows. So let's go here, show color board. Make sure I'm in exposure, and I'm going to go right here to my shadows, and I'm going to pull it down. Now I'm going to pull all of this down. You can use the histogram, or you can use the other Luma bar graph. I'm going to take this down to where it's just about touching the 0. I'm crushing the blacks. Remember we talked about that, crushing the blacks. Look what it did to the video. Look at that picture already. Look at the improvement. Now over here, I'm also, like I said, grab the shadows again. Grab the midtones, that is. Pull it down to maybe 10%. At the same time, I'm using the scopes. I'm using my eyeballs. What looks good to me? So not only do I use the editing software itself to tell me where I should be, my eyes are the true judge of where I need to be. Let's go back. Let's take a look at this. Let's take the scopes out. Let's hide those. Now let's look at the before. See that? It's flat. It's washed out. Everything just, it looks like crap. Let's show the color correction. Look at the change. Now imagine if you haven't been doing that. Imagine what you can make your video look like with just a couple simple steps. To me, it's really amazing. Okay, let's look at the second thing that I do, and that is saturate the colors. Now, sometimes you don't even have to. If you go into your exposure settings, crush the blacks, brings out the color. You may not even have to touch the color and saturate it. So here's a new clip that I brought down in timeline. Let's do the same exact thing we did earlier. Show video scopes. Let's go down here, show color board. Let's go to our exposure button. Let's crush the blacks. Let's pull that down. Watch the video. Not only do I look at the scopes, I just use my eyeballs to where it looks proper to me. I try to reproduce what I saw while I was there with my own eyes. I don't like to get into the oversaturation, the goofy looking stuff usually on these videos that I make. I like to try and reproduce the natural way it looked. So I've got some of that touching the bottom, the 0 line. I'm crushed those blacks pretty well. Let's go over here to the midtones. I'm going to pull that down a little bit. That looks good to me. It's at 7%. So the next thing I do on every clip, if necessary, I go to the saturation. I go to my global setting. I want everything in there to be saturated and look good. So the first thing I do is I go up to 10%. I look at that. Does that look okay? Yeah, it actually does look great. I'll go to 20%. I'm just raising that up. 20%. Doesn't look bad. Look how the blues are starting to come out in the sky. Let's go to 30. 30%. Man, that looks fantastic. It looks just like when I was there. Not only can I move this puck, I can go in here and I can double click and I can change my values there. I can put 25, enter, double click, 30, enter. I can go ahead and put those values in there manually. So let's close out the scopes. Let's take a look at this footage here. Let's go back to the before. All right, here's the before. Looks kind of washed out. Doesn't look very nice. Let's show the color correction. Wow. Before, yucky, average. Bam, awesome, beautiful. These are just simple steps that you can do to all of your videos to really make them pop. I think you're starting to see, I hope you're starting to see that this, you don't have to be some kind of fancy video editor. Just know a couple basics and look what you can get your video to look like. Pretty amazing, I think. All right, I want to show you the last thing that I might consider doing if necessary. I've pulled a new clip down into the timeline. Just me paddling. So let's go back and do the things that we know to do. Show my video scope or use your eyeball. You don't have to have scopes. Show the color board. Exposure. Crush those blacks. Look how the picture's already looking better. All right, I'm pretty much touching the 0. And also, just to keep in mind, if you have video that's too dark, you can go and adjust these and brighten things, okay? If you got dark video, you can't see something, it was in low light, adjust it the opposite way and you can make it brighter. So here we go. I'm going to take the shadows down. I'm going to look at that. 8% looks good. Let's go to saturation. I'm just going to manually put 30. All right, so there we go. Let's come out of the scopes. Now in Final Cut, a really cool effect they give you is one called sharpen. All right, I've already typed it in here at the bottom. It's pulled it up. Now I'm going to just click it and drag it over and drop the sharpen module right there on that clip. Final Cut will allow you to sharpen that with differing amounts. They have a convenient slider. Now watch what happens. I'm going to really go to extreme on this sharpen. I'm going to start pulling it to the right. You can get some cool looking effects that way, but generally I put it at 4. If I need to sharpen a video, if I need to, I don't always have to. I put 4, enter, and it just kind of defines the lines. It definitely will take a fuzzy picture and improve it. May not make it perfect, but it will improve it. So now, let's go back to this clip. Let's go back to the before. Let's take the color correction off. I'm going to click there. I'm going to take the sharpen. Here's what we were looking at before. Now, this is before we crushed the blacks, before we saturated the colors, and before we added a little bit of sharpening. So let's hit the play. Let's add these back in. Wow. Look at the difference. Let's take them back off. There's the before, after. What a world of difference. All right, let's cut this video off. It's gone long enough. I hope these tips are helpful to you. If you're doing it already, great. If you're not, I hope you got some ideas. If you do these simple little things, anybody can do it. Your video is going to pop. I mean, pop. It's going to look great. All right, that's it. I'm Steve, Adventure Outdoors. I'll see you in the next video. mainly because I've got a special app and I can see through the internet and I can see what you're doing. And some of y'all don't need to be doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? All right, next video. Later.